Welcome to the Stock Report, where we go back and look at week 8 in college football and see what draft eligible prospects help their stock and hurt their stock. And I'm the humble host with the corny intro. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content as always. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, where we have that nice, beautiful football discourse. Let's go ahead and start it off with the game that we did a watch along on, Ohio State versus Penn State, and JT Tuimoloau had himself a game once again against Penn State. Not quite as dominant, but it was very impressive none the least. 6 pressures, had a sack, and even more impressively, he did this against Olu Fashanu, who we'll actually talk about next. And golly, man, he just showed off that power. This dude's coming in at 6'4", 270. He's just built different. He's got great length, lots of power in that frame. He's just big. He combines, it's just a nice combination of speed, power, length. You just love it. He literally dog walked Olu almost into the lap of Drew Aller in that game. It was really quite remarkable. I feel like the last couple of weeks, JT has been gaining a little bit of steam. He kind of came into this season as a projection largely, because if you're unfamiliar with him, he was a former 5-star recruit from the 2021 class. He was actually the #1 recruit in that class. Was largely a rotation player his freshman season. Also actually considered playing basketball that year, but decided to focus on football. And last year he had 10 starts, played in every game, but for the most part was just in that rotation for Ohio State. And he had the big game last year against Penn State where he had 2 interceptions, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. And it was really just that game where we were like, oh wow, like this guy has a ton of tools. And we've been seeing those tools the last couple of weeks. We've been seeing him become more complete as just kind of the total package. Like his still, like I would say his run defense is a bit of ways, but it has improved this season. He's doing a better job of kind of setting that edge and just getting good position. I'm a fan, man. I think currently, if you don't know, my edge rankings are already out on the channel from, I think, yesterday. And he is my edge 5. I have a first-round grade on him. He's not nearly as high as I projected him coming into the year, but it's not like he just fell off the face of the, oh no, this is like a developmental guy you maybe take in the 3rd round. It's like, no, this is a guy with first-round traits, like completely. But let's talk about the guy that he dog walked, as I said. Olu Fashanu, probably his worst game we've seen from him. He allowed 4 pressures, no sacks, fortunately. He did this on 51 passing snaps. And just, he got overpowered, man. He got out-muscled by Olu, man, or by JT. JT got the best of him in this matchup. Does that mean this cat's not a top 10 prospect? No, I still kind of feel like he is. I really do, because he's got that ideal length, coming in at 6'6", 319. I think he moves exceptionally well for the position. That immovable anchor I kind of thought he had is maybe a little more vulnerable now that we've kind of seen it in a game. But like, I love the mirroring ability. Some of my gripes with him is he's not like the most vicious run blocker. He's a guy that's not going to bury these defenders 6 feet under the ground. But like the dude has all the tools. This just ends up being a less than ideal game from him against another top competition. Like Olu could have came out last year and probably been a top 10 pick. Decided to come back. Didn't expect to be talked about in the 1st round. Didn't really, like last year he came into the year and didn't really expect to be a draft prospect. He said, I think he even said, oh, it all happened real fast for me, but the plan was always to return to Penn State. So I'm just glad he's kind of healthy this year. Last year, I think down the stretch, he missed like 5 games with an undisclosed injury. But no, this dude's still my tackle one. It wasn't that horrible of an outing. It was just like there were some reps where it was like, whew, yeah, that man got the best of you. We could talk about the matchup between Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kalen Keene. That one was actually very intriguing. I thought Kalen Keene came out very feisty and just happened to lose to, like, for some people, their top prospect in this class. For me, I think he's probably going to be like 2 or 3. So it's like not even that big of a hit. Like, it was just an impressive outing by Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kalen Keene did the best that he could. He just got out-muscled. Like the dude, like Marvin Harrison's got significantly more size than our boy Kalen Keene, coming in at 5'11", 192. But yeah, it wasn't the best outing for Kalen Keene, but it was an important one to see. That's why I'm just I don't have Kalen Keene as like a top 20 guy. Like, I list him as a top 20 guy, but he's kind of like 22, 23. Like I feel better about him in the mid to late first round area because I like what he brings to the table, man. It's just you look at him against an alpha receiver, and it was like, okay, you're not gonna win many of those. I mean, so much so. I mean, you go back to like kind of the game-changing play in that game where Penn State had the strip sack for a touchdown, and what called it back, what nullified that, was the defensive holding Kalen Keene had on Marvin Harrison Jr. So it was a very interesting game nonetheless, but those were probably the 2 big matchups that really caught my eye, on probably most people's eye. Let's go ahead. Listen, I know you love the NFL draft as much as I do, and you're going to want a nice hefty watch list of players during this college football season. Well, go ahead, check out my draft guide. You can purchase it for only $30 by Venmoing or PayPaling me. Links in the description. It's a one-time payment, and you get it for this whole draft cycle and forever and always. Technically, it's a Google spreadsheet, so send me your email when you send the payment. I'll get you hooked up. You will see my current prospect rankings and big board, my full evals, and guess what? It updates throughout the whole draft cycle. So it's a great purchase, and it's a great way to support the channel. Let's move to the running back position. Everyone loves the running back position. I want to give y'all some names y'all probably haven't heard of. For instance, Marquez Cooper out of Ball State. This was someone I did during my my summer evals, and yeah, it doesn't have the most ideal size. He's listed at 5'8", 184. I think Kent State had him at one point at 5'6". So how he measures out is going to be very, very, very interesting. But he had a big game this past week against Central Michigan, where he went for over 160 yards, had a tutty, looked just very, very impressive in that game. And some of the things that you will like about him being a smaller back, he just plays on fast forward. Like, just few can really compare to his explosiveness, the change of direction, the speed. He just shows that with an impressive footwork, good body control. You just love the shimmy. He's just terrifying to deal with in the open field due to his small stature. He also plays with naturally good leverage. And honestly, he plays with that chip on his shoulder of like, yeah, I know I'm a small guy, and he won't like, he won't dodge versus like physicality. He was like, nah, you know what? Nah, let's go ahead. Let's do it. That was something I really liked about Tajay Sanders last season. Not saying they're on similar like levels. I think we're talking more in the mid to late day 3 area when it comes to Cooper. But something I really wish we'd see, and you could kind of also make this case for Tajay Spears last year, is just Cooper just not used it much in the passing game as he should be, but kind of is what it is. We've seen him on like returns, kick returns, punt returns. He's got that experience. He is that type of athlete. Wow, you could also say this about Keaton Mitchell, who ended up being a UDFA. So there's that out there. If you are unfamiliar with Cooper, though, he's a former 2-star recruit from the 2020 class. Initially went to Kent State, where in the shortened season in 2020, his freshman year, he started all 4 games. And he basically was the starter at Kent State for like all 3 years he was there. He made second team All-MAC in 2021. Then he made first team All-MAC in 2022. And then Ball State, they lose Carson Steele. And he's like, you got an opening? Here I come. And he's been really good for Ball State. But let's get moving on to the running back position once more with Bucky Irvin. We got to talk about Bucky. I'm probably going to release my running back rankings at the end of the week. And fun fact, you're probably going to see Bucky Irvin on there. Coming in at 5'10", 195. Dude had 3 total touchdowns against Washington State. He's been looking really good this season in general. He's hard to bring down at that stature at 5'10", 195. Quick feet. Former four-star recruit from the 2021 class. Didn't play his senior year of high school because of the Rona. Darn you, Rona. But ends up going to Minnesota, right, in 2021. He played in all 12 games as a rotation player, did get 132 carries. He was also their kick returner. Ended up transferring to Oregon after that year. And last season was his first year at Oregon, where he started 12 games, playing in all 13, and looked hella good. And he was split in the backfield for the most part. Now he's kind of like still, you know, there's still a bit of a split back there, but he has such a large chunk of the pie this season at Oregon. He is electric with the ball in his hands. Explodes out of the backfield. And like just once he touches the football, he uses that quick feet just to give defenders difficult angles to attack him from. Love the change of direction. Love the stop-start ability. Even despite the slender frame, this guy eats contact exceptionally well. I love guys that just keep moving their legs through contact, and he is that guy. Part of that's the low center of gravity. And of course, you're going to look at him, okay, smaller back. There's going to be concerns. Can he handle a workload? There have been, at least last year, there were some inconsistencies with his pass catch, and I think he's been better this season. But big fan of Bucky Irvin. I'll go into him more when we do our running back rankings, our updated version of that. But I had to give a shout out. Big week for Bucky, and he's just been phenomenal this season. And then I'm going to move to the defensive side of the ball with Jerzon Newton. Who would have thought, right? He had a phenomenal game here against Wisconsin, where he had 8 pressures, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. Also had 4 defensive stops. If you're unfamiliar with that, that's basically just a play where it results in no gain or a negative gain. Essentially, tackle for loss. But Jerzon Newton's just been wonderful. I think at this point, he's kind of undoubtedly the defensive interior one in this class. And I think you can make a great argument he's a top 10 prospect. He is that freaking good. He really, really is, man. This is a dude that plays with his hair on fire. Great motor. Love the just the explosiveness, the penetrating ability he has, but he's also a very good run defender. That he kind of just brings this all together and wraps it up in a nice, sweet little bow. He's coming in at 6'2", 295, so he plays with actually kind of a natural low center of gravity, natural leverage for him because he's a little stout. He's a little teapot, short and stout. Ha! I really already got into him in my defensive interior rankings. You can check that out. It's on the channel, my updated version. But this is a guy that has pedigree, like in terms of just like football. Like you look at he has 4 brothers. 2 of them played football at West 2 of them played football at West Florida. 1 currently plays at Toledo, and then his cousin was Pro Wells. If you were unfamiliar with him, he actually was the tight end at TCU. He was a UDFA for Cincinnati Bengals, and I think he now plays with the USFL. But so you see that pedigree of just of athletes, of football players. So like, and he's probably the best among them. So like, just had to give a shout out to Jerzon Newton, man, for hey, dude's still killing it, and he's doing it well. All right, next on here, I have Jalen Green out of James Madison. I had to talk about some JMU, man. They're killing it this season. It sucks that they're not eligible for a bowl or to win the Sun Belt, because they sure as hell should be. But Jalen Green had himself a heck of a game against Marshall, where he had 10 pressures, 5 sacks. That's right. You're not reading that wrong. 5 sacks, 5 defensive stops. He has been flipping amazing last year. And a lot of that, he earned it on the back of what he did last season. If you're unfamiliar with this cat, he's a former 3-star recruit from the 2019 class, picked James Madison over the likes of, I think Kentucky was one of the suitors here. He actually owns his high school's career sack record. So he comes to JMU, and for the most part, this was a guy that played as a reserve until 2022, where he only had 1 start, but he was a key rotation player where he was just constantly getting, just eating. And this season, he has been doing that at full force, man. I know he leads college football in sacks, and he probably leads them in pressures as well. But he's coming in at 6'1", 245. So you look at that, a little undersized. I am a little curious about the length, but when you watch him on the field, man, he feels like he's the fastest player on the field. It's wild. Like, this guy is such a great athlete, such great movement skills. Just the finesse he plays with, the motor that he plays with. And I look forward to doing a bigger deep dive on him later this later this week. But I had to give him a shout out, man. He had such a stellar game against Marshall, and I'm kind of curious to hear what other people might have to say about him. If I had to give a wild guess, I probably see him in the late day 3 area. Maybe could sneak into that 5th round. But due to the size and maybe concerns with the length, it might result in him being UDFA. I get a little bit of golly, was it who was the Eastern Michigan edge rusher last year? I want to say it was like Jose Ramirez, but I'm not positive on that. Don't quote me on it. But he kind of gives me those types of vibes. All right, next on the list is Iyabi Oki Anoma out of Charlotte. Someone you probably are familiar with if you follow the channel, because he's someone that we've kind of been shining a light on the last few seasons, thinking, oh, like, this is maybe a guy that could break out because he's someone that has all of the tools. Well, coming in at 6'5", 244, had a good game against ECU where he had 6 pressures, a sack, and 5 defensive stops. And reason why it's like, why is a Charlotte player kind of like on the map for some people, or why do they know about him? And you gotta look at this kid's journey, man. He was initially a 5-star recruit from the 2018 class and ends up going to Alabama, right? And this was a guy remotely new to football. I think he started playing football his junior year, where between his junior and senior year, he had like 25 plus sack seasons. That's how he got onto Alabama's radar. And he goes to Alabama, and in 2018, he's a rotation player as a freshman, and he made SEC the all freshman team there, but he was dismissed from the team for undisclosed violations related to either the team or the university. Didn't really find the specifics on that, but he got dismissed from the squad. So he ends up going to Houston in 2019, and it's a real bumpy ride, right? He transferred to Houston, had to sit out the 2019 season because of the transfer rules at the time, but he ended up being dismissed before the spring of 2020 for a plethora of reasons, such as tardiness, skipping classes, clashing with teammates, and insubordination. So he gets dismissed, back-to-back dismissals. He ends up going to Tennessee Martin, and once again had to sit out. So this guy hadn't played football in 2019, hadn't played in 2020. He comes in 2021, played in all 12 games, made 5 starts, and he ends up being the OVC all-newcomer, making the OVC all-newcomer team, and he made 3rd team all-OVC. Then he goes to Michigan, 2022, where he only played he played in every game, but he only started 2. I really thought he was going to have this big breakout potentially, because like the dude has he is exceptionally gifted when it comes to the length, when it comes to the ridiculous get off. Like, he is a great athlete. Like, and he plays with a really good motor, but you know he's unpolished, and there are going to be concerns from his past. Michigan had nothing but nice things to say about him. You might be like, okay, then why does he go from Michigan to Charlotte then? And well, here's the reason. For one, he had another year of eligibility being a graduate, so he actually couldn't stay at Michigan, and he actually followed his old high school coach and Michigan's former associate head coach to Charlotte. So he was following one of the coaches from that Michigan squad he was just with to Charlotte, and he's having a solid season. He's definitely someone to keep on your radar. He will be one of the older prospects in the class, and like, this isn't like a Byron Young situation, right? Where Byron Young, older prospect, later to football, has, like, in terms of being a great athlete, physical tools, has them. He's just older and unpolished. You could say, like, okay, all the physical tools, he's just older and unpolished. But we saw production from Byron Young at Tennessee. Saw production against SEC talent. We haven't really seen that from Ayobi, but he is definitely someone you should probably keep on your mind. Next on the list is Quinion Mitchell. Had to give a shout out to Quinion, man. Great game this past week against Miami, Ohio. Big win. Big win. Toledo currently, I think they're 7-1, I think. I know they are undefeated in the MAC, and they are having a great year, but Quinion only allowing 37.5% completion rate and 2 pass breakups in that game, having a phenomenal year. Just missed my my cornerback rankings. I did probably talk a little bit about him at the end of the video, but this dude is good, man. He even had a good game last season against Marvin Harrison Jr., where he did allow a touchdown, but it was like, you saw this guy with no fear and come up against Marvin Harrison Jr. and play him well. Did Marvin Harrison get the better of him? Yeah, a lot of he gets the better of a lot of corners. But like, Quinion played him like well, like white on rice. Like, it was like the touchdown catch was like a really good like catch it, like throw and catch. It really was. Like, Quinion definitely someone who could really up his stock during the All-Star circuit. He was a first team All Pac-12, All MAC last season. He's probably well on his way to doing it again. Great build, 6 foot, 196. Does play a lot of off zone coverage there at Toledo, but he has been recorded to be a very good athlete. I am kind of a bit curious what his like explosive scores are going to be when he does test out, but I can't wait to see this. This guy better make a Senior Bowl or at least a Shrine Bowl. I really want to see what he is capable of against. I want to say against better competition, but it's not like we haven't seen him against better competition. It's just I want to see a full week of it. You know, that's maybe me being greedy, but gotta give a shout out to Quinion, man. Dude has been really good this year. And we're gonna stick with the corner position with Roe Torrance out of Arizona State. Interesting build here for a corner, right? 6'3", 210, and only allowed 28 yards this past week. And yeah, that's right. You see him matched up on Rome Odunze. It wasn't like that all game, but hey, when you're matching up against Washington, you're facing either Polk or Odunze. Even what is it, Gilbert Jackson, who the guy is filling in for McMillan, even he's pretty darn solid. But Torrance had a good game. He even had an interception on Michael Penix. So very good. He was a very big reason why that Arizona State was competitive with Washington. Like, that defense was huge when it came to keeping Arizona State in that game. But this guy was a former 3-star recruit, but he was a JUCO recruit. He was initially, I couldn't find if he was a 0-star recruit, but he ends up going to community college. He goes to Hutchinson Community College, a very well-known community college, one where you see a lot of recruits end up going to Power 5 schools from Hutchinson. And in 2020, where he played 8 games. He was the defensive player of the year among JUCO players, and he decides to transfer after that big season, which, I mean, he'd already been there 2 years, so it made sense. He goes to Auburn, where he mainly played as a reserve, and I didn't see an exact reason why he decided to transfer, but I imagine it was like, oh, he kind of wanted to play in time. And I mean, Auburn had a ton of talent there at the time. I mean, they still kind of do. Their secondary is actually pretty solid. But he ends up going to Arizona State in 2022, and he started 9 games, missing the first 3 with a left arm injury. Steps up huge. He's kind of actually been a vocal leader and a captain of this defense. And golly, dude, I have been thoroughly impressed with this cat the little bit I have seen from him, whether it was the USC game or if it was this game here against Washington. I think he's done a lot for his stock, as we're talking of him somewhere maybe in like the early to mid day 3 area. With that size, I am going to be a little curious to see what his actual testing numbers will be, but definitely someone to put down on your list and keep an eye on for the remainder of the season. And then last, but of course not least, let's get a tight end here, because I talk so much crap about this tight end class, just doesn't feel great, at least after Brock Bowers. I got AJ Barner out of Michigan, coming in here at 6'6", 251, and this performance against Michigan State ended up being his biggest offensive, like his biggest receiving performance of the year. I'm pretty sure he doubled his receiving yards just in this game, where he had 8 receptions, 99 yards. He had a tutty, and in all honesty, like, it's nice to see him actually do something in terms of receiving, because you look at him and he's actually a phenomenal blocking tight end. Like, he is really good in that regard. So seeing him get a little bit of offense going, you really love to see that. And I mean, in this tight end class, I think that'll make him a lot of money. Like, this guy's gonna be like maybe in the mid to early day 3 discussion. I mean, we'll kind of see when it's all said and done. But going back and looking at him, I was like, okay, well, how was he stuck behind depth here at Michigan? I was like, oh, this is his first year at Michigan. He was actually initially a 3-star recruit from the 2020 class, and he was at Indiana for 3 seasons. Indiana, how you let this guy transfer? But he played all 8 games in a shortened season in 2020, but he was primarily a special teamer. He was primarily a special teamer for his first 2 years at Indiana, and then he started 10 games in 2022, missed the couple, I think, early with a foot injury, and then decided to transfer. But I love this. He decides to transfer to freaking Michigan. Like, hey, I want to go to a squad that's going to have a lot of competition, a lot of talent. And he has done exceptionally well. He's been a big part of why that run game is so successful, along with that very studded offensive line there at Michigan. But yeah, man, at this point, when it comes to this tight end class, like, you're looking for these performances. You're looking at these guys that might be able to stick out, because, like, I mean, I'm not going to do a tight end rankings because, again, the video probably won't do that well, and I don't think the class is like terribly great. But you look at, like, after Brock Bowers is like what, Jatavion Sanders, maybe Luke Lackey, Cade Stover. Definitely Stover's done a lot this season. Jaheim Bell, but he's like a very interesting body type, so it's like not every team's gonna love that. You look at like Ben Sinnott. I think Benjamin Eurosek's done a lot of good this season. But, like, all those guys I named are probably like rounds 2 through 5. Like, it's kind of a wide open class. It really, really is after Brock Bowers. So I want to throw AJ Barner's name into the ring there. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I should have my interior offensive lineman updated prospect rankings out later tonight. So be on the look for that one. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.